Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us for our first news update in our Beef Brunch educational series. My name is Ashley Edwards, and I am a livestock agent and coordinator for programs in the Central, Northeast, and Northwest regions. With me today are Jason Holmes, a livestock specialist in the Northeast region, Lee Falk, livestock specialist in the Northwest region, and Vince Desatel, livestock specialist in the Central region. We wanted to begin bringing you what will hopefully be bi-weekly news updates of things that are happening in the industry within Louisiana and across the country. Our goal is to bring in extra livestock agents and researchers and other personnel in the future to make sure that we keep you up to date with all pertinent information for your operations. A few housekeeping items. We are filming these in advance to posting them, so there might be 2 or 3 day delay getting them online. You will be able to find them on the LSU AgCenter Livestock YouTube channel, as well as our LSU AgCenter website under the Beef Cattle page. So we appreciate your participation in viewing these, and we hope that we're able to bring you all the information that you are looking for to help keep you up to date. So with that, I will begin. Vince, if you don't mind giving us kind of a weather update of Central and South Louisiana, as well as a little bit of information with the tornado that hit the Dean Lee Research Station this week.
Well, thank you, Ashley. And yeah, it's certainly a pleasure. And hopefully we can keep people updated on what's going on with current situations. And probably the most important thing right now is as far as extension and research programs for LSU AgCenter and our clientele. You know, for those of you who are not aware that the Dean Lee Research Station was badly damaged, right up the gut, so to speak. All of the DeWitt livestock facility has severe damage to it. The tornado stayed on the ground and damaged every one of the structures on the research station as far as the research component, seed labs, greenhouses, equipment sheds, feed bins, you name it. It was all located centrally on the station, and it's all completely damaged. So it's all compromised to a certain degree, and it's going to take years of restoration to get this thing back in order for normalcy to become part of that at Dean Lee again. Fencing for the livestock is compromised in a lot of cases. There's a lot of downed trees. As we move forward, we're going to give a lending hand as far as agents and people that have come together to get this straightened out. But in the short run, as far as weather conditions in the central part of Louisiana and South Louisiana, it's been a little bit of a variation. It seems like central Louisiana and North Louisiana has been getting the rains here with the last few fronts that have come through. Unfortunately, in South Louisiana and up to central Louisiana, we haven't gotten the rain. So it's particularly dry at this point in time. Nationally, the drought monitors are showing that South Louisiana along the coast, we're going to go into a droughty period this spring and summer, which is certainly standing true at this point in time. So, you know, those ryegrass fields that we depend on for winter grazing are beginning to die out and die out really hard. You know, nursing cows that are nursing calves at this point in time, producers probably need to make a consideration to if they're going to start backgrounding some calves for marketing. It might be a good idea to start that before pastures really get hard and dry.
Thank you, sir. Lee, do you mind giving us an update for North Louisiana?
Thank you, Ashley. It's very good to be with you all today and to give you an update on what we're seeing on the ground as far as in Northwest and North Central and a little bit of Northeast Louisiana. As far as weather conditions, and Vince alluded to the fact that we've had numerous fronts move through northern Louisiana, central and northern Louisiana in the last couple of weeks, bringing widespread rainfall, some flooding, tornadoes, high winds, straight line winds. We've seen a little bit of damage amongst some producers' places. And of course, we've had some damage to some towns as far as tornadoes go and everything. The main thing that we're seeing from all these fronts is just saturated soils and heavy amounts of localized rainfall. And that's really putting a damper on haying. We've got some producers that are getting out there and that are trying to get started on the ryegrass hay like Vince was talking about. And most of them are trying to put up some baleage right now. But as far as windows of time for dry hay, we haven't experienced that. We've been getting rain every couple of days, and that's just not a adequate window of drying period. A lot of producers have been saying that even if they could get it dry in the time between rain, the fields are so wet and the ground is so saturated they can't get a tractor across it. So it's really going to be a problem moving forward if we can't get a few days to dry out fields, and then a stretch of 4 or 5 days for these guys that are trying to bale dry ryegrass hay moving forward. Temperatures have been moderate. We've seen some high 80s in some instances, and then lows dropping back into the 50s and 60s. So it's been an interesting spring, to say the least.
I think it's going to get interesting as we move on into the summer as well. And it is kind of crazy to see such vast differences between the two areas in the state. Jason, do you mind giving us an update on cattle markets?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. So what I figured we'd do is start with our calf end. Those 5 weights move up into the 7 weights. Look at cull cow prices, and then move up into the feds, and then slaughter and storage, and just look at each one of those individually and as briefly as possible. So right now on our calf weights, those wean calves, 552 weights is where I think the majority of the optimism is right now. Those prices have been trending upwards slightly. I'm not just getting real excited about it yet, but those prices are trending upward a little bit. And then if you look at the futures markets, the futures are showing the same thing. There is some optimism there in those feeder type cattle. Those 7 weights, 750, 700, 800 pounds is where there's not a whole lot of optimism right now. Those prices are trending upwards, so I guess if there is optimism, that's where it would be, is that the prices are trending upwards now instead of severely backwards like we were going there for a couple of weeks. So they are trending upwards as we've gone over the last couple of weeks of April. In terms of the most recent cattle on feed report, there's not a whole lot of optimism in that short term. I think there is some optimism in the long term, but not short term. So for the month of April, we were down 5%. We had the lowest March report since they've been keeping records in terms of placements. So for the month of April, total placements in yards with 1,000 head or more capacity was 11.3 million. And again, that was down 5% based on year-ago numbers. So there's not a whole lot of optimism there. The placements for March totaled 1.56 million head, which is 23% below year-ago levels. So they're not placing a lot of cattle, just strictly because I think it's just a matter of that they're not moving a lot of cattle, so they're not placing a lot of cattle. So as Lee and I were visiting earlier, the fear is, and what we're seeing now is we're creating a bottleneck back here in the cow-calf industry, and I think that's where a lot of the risk, a lot of the uncertainty is coming right now. In the short term, is with us in the cow-calf world, that we're creating a bottleneck because placements are down so much. And we feel that if you've got a place to go with those wean calves on grass, you certainly have an opportunity looking at the long range forecast whenever warm season pastures start playing out late summer, early fall is whenever it looks like prices are going to be their best. So if you do have the opportunity to put some of those cattle, background them on some good warm season grasses, you may have an opportunity there late summer, early fall. Cull cow prices are looking a little bit better. They're also trending upwards. A month ago they were not very good. but they are trending upwards a little bit right now. So on the Southern Plains, we're looking at an average of about $59 a hundredweight. So that's certainly better compared to the early part of April, late part of March. We were all the way down at $39 a hundred. So those prices are certainly trending upwards a little bit. I think I kind of skipped around there a little bit, but we'll keep moving. So slaughter is down 25% compared to a year ago. And everybody's probably keeping up with the news in terms of what COVID-19, the effect that it's having on our slaughter facilities. A number of slaughter facilities scaled way back, maybe have had to shut down for a few days for testing. And that's not specific to the beef cattle. The beef industry, the pork industry is suffering from that. The poultry industry is suffering. It's just it's something that all of our meat packing facilities are having to deal with. So slaughter is naturally down, and just because of the fact that our restaurant industry, our retail industry is just really not very strong right now. Storage is up 10% for beef in cold storage. So, and we're kind of getting into, I think Lee put it in the earlier terms as a perfect storm type situation in terms of slaughter down, cold storage up, just not having a whole lot of opportunity to move a lot of these calves that are going to be looking at being weaned here in the short run. So I guess I would wrap that up with saying that we're glad that we are seeing some optimism in terms of some of these 5-weight prices coming up. Hopefully we can continue with that trend and moving forward into the next couple of weeks. But I encourage y'all to consider what you're going to do with those wean calves and be seeking out those opportunities to put them on some good high quality warm season grasses and try to get to the end of the summertime, early part of the fall, whenever it looks like prices are going to be looking a little bit better.
Thank you. And so as we start talking about going into warm season and making use of what we've got left of the ryegrass, Vince, will you elaborate on that just a little bit more and the armyworms that have already shown up this year?
Yeah, sure, Ashley. I mean, it's again, as we alluded to, the differences in the weather situation from South Louisiana to North Louisiana, it's typically reversed. North Louisiana is typically in a drier pattern moving into spring and late spring and early summer, versus some of our folks down in the coastal region where we run a lot of cattle on the marsh ground. They're in there right now bush hogging with tractors in the marsh. So believe that or not, it's really dry in South Louisiana right now. And as we transition from our ryegrass plantings into our summer annual grasses, we're seeing some armyworms showing up, and this is not the fall armyworms. This is a true armyworm. So those are a little more tricky to have management over, and the practices that we need to control them. So anytime we have droughty conditions, we tend to see more problems with parasites and other factors that affect our pasture management in terms of insects. So be on the lookout for that. As we're well aware, armyworms can be have a devastating impact overnight. In some cases, in our forages when they're lush and green and growing. So it's that transition from that lush ryegrass season into the summer grasses is going to be really difficult here as far as what we can see in the southern part and central part of the state. Contrary to what Lee alluded to earlier, with the wet conditions up in the north, hopefully that can subside some, so we can get producers that can get in the fields and get some hay made and get into a more normal pattern. So it's just kind of flip-flopped around, it seems like, this year, and nonetheless, it's been strange.
And with that, our beef brunch, webinar series will be on May 12th at 10:30 a.m. and we will have Dr. Sebe Brown talking about armyworm control, and Mr. Jason Holmes will talk about external parasite control in our cattle. So that will be a live event. We will be posting information on how to access that soon, and we hope that you will be able to join us for that. I think the last topic that we have today, we did see some changes to our validation dates for our state fair, I believe with our cattle. Lee, can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, so the state fair has experienced some challenges moving forward. This is the busy time of the year for validation, starting to get busy, starting off with market steers. So the state fair has put out some news for those of you whose kids or grandkids may be involved in 4-H or FFA and show livestock at the state fair. One change that they've implemented as far as validation goes for 2020 is that the ear tags and DNA kits can now be requested online. Visit the statefairoflouisiana.com. That's their website. Look for livestock under events, and you can go right in there and order your ear tags and DNA kits. Those can now be requested directly from the exhibitors. They will not be mailed though until the bill is paid in full, though the cost of kits is $7 per kit. If you have any questions on that, you can definitely reach out to the State Fair of Louisiana and or look on their website, which I'll repeat again, is statefairlouisiana.com. There has been a change in possession dates for market steers. The old possession date was May 10th, and that's been pushed back now to June the 10th due to virus and everything. Commercial heifers, commercial dairy, market lambs, and commercial ewes, along with market goats and commercial does, continues to be July the 10th. So the possession dates on a wide range of commercial heifers, commercial dairy, market lambs, commercial ewes, market goats, and commercial does is July the 10th. Market swine and commercial gilts do continue to be August the 10th, which is the established date. So the only change in possession date, if it affects you now, is market steers. That date has been pushed back to June the 10th, 2020. I'd like to repeat again that if you need any more information on validation procedures of the State Fair of Louisiana, please visit their website, statefairlouisiana.com, or email your local 4-H agent or ag teacher, and they'll get you all the information you need on that.
Thank you, Lee. Okay, before we start to conclude, do y'all have anything else that you would like to discuss?
Yes, Ashley, I just want to make producers aware of a situation that we encounter commonly in central and south Louisiana due to our normally increased amount of rainfall compared to North Louisiana, where we deal with some sheath blight in rice and aerial blight in soybeans, which is the same bacterial infection. We're beginning to see it somewhat in our Bermuda fields. It's Rhizoctonia, the bacterial infection from Rhizoctonia. Visiting with Jason here recently, he's visited a couple of fields in North Louisiana, and I feel strongly that it's closely tied to amount of rainfall, as we alluded to earlier, and the conditions, as we use the term, the perfect storm. It's just kind of a perfect setup for the situation. Cool temperatures, wet soils, and the spores are there. So it's something that producers need to look for. And also there's really no curative for it as far as a fungicide, because that's an often asked question. There are no labeled fungicides for forages. So we need to monitor this, and the only way to kind of cure it is when the opportunity is there, harvest the hay off, fertilize it well, and hopefully that the next cutting doesn't appear to have those problems.
Thank you. Anybody else have anything to add?
Yeah, thank you, Ashley. Just real quick, just to clarify, because I think I don't want to mislead anybody. So in terms of the lowest since 1996, or when those records began, we're looking at the lowest number of placements. I think a while ago I initially said that whenever I was looking at that cattle on feed report. So it's that placement number for March. That was that 1.56 million head, 23% below last year. Lowest since we began keeping those records in 96.
Okay, thank you. And I did almost forget one more thing that we were looking at earlier. Dr. Kirk Guidry sent us an email on the impact of COVID-19 on the livestock industry and some information that he received. So we will be linking an article from Dr. Darrell Peel of Oklahoma State, which estimates the impact of the cattle industry or the impact that COVID-19 has had on the cattle industry. So we will place that below the video. The other thing to mention is that USDA has announced its coronavirus food assistant program. This is going to provide about $19 billion to provide critical support for farmers and ranchers. They state that this is to maintain the integrity of the food supply chain and ensure that every American continues to receive and have access to the food that they need. One of the components of this program is that there will be direct support to farmers and ranchers. There's supposed to be $16 billion of that in direct support based on actual losses for agricultural producers where prices and market supply chains have been impacted. They also say that it will assist producers with additional adjustment and marketing costs resulting from lost demand and short-term oversupply in the 2020 marketing year that is, of course, caused by COVID-19. Unfortunately, we don't have any specific details on the program at this point. We're not really sure exactly what commodities are going to be included or the amount of funds designated to each commodity. We will also post a link to an article provided by American Farm Bureau that discusses this program. It will outline some general procedures that USDA may decide to implement to ensure that this program runs as smoothly as it possibly can. So both of those links, again, will be posted below the video, as well as the State Fair of Louisiana link that Lee mentioned earlier. So with that, we will conclude, and we want to thank you again for joining us with these updates. We hope that you subscribe to the LSU AgCenter Livestock YouTube channel so that you are able to get these each time that they are posted. And we hope that you join us on May 12th at 10:30 a.m. for our live Beef Brunch Educational Series webinar with Dr. Steve Brown and Mr. Jason Holmes. Thank you and have a great day.